She was reading a book while I was tapping out some nonsense on my laptop. She suddenly lowered the book and looked at me. Fortunately for me, 20 years of marriage had taught me when it was time to shove whatever my brain was working on to the side and pay attention. I looked back at her and waited. "Do you ever wonder what happens to a god when they've outlived their usefulness?" she asked. "Honestly, no. And it's an odd question. What prompted it?" She tapped the open book on her lap. "This is a study of comparative religions of the Middle East, from the Sumerians through the Assyrians. In that span of time, they went through Anu, Marduk, Ashur, and Ahura Mazda, and that's just considering the major gods. As each empire or civilization fell, almost always a new god moved in. I'm not sure Ahura Mazda fits your premise. He's the chief deity of Zoroastrianism, and his worship still exists." She shook her head. "He's nowhere near what he once was in terms of reverence. That he clings to tenuous relevance neither negates my point nor answers the question." I would have asked if she was serious, but then I would have been a complete idiot. Of course she was. I knew her opinion of religion in general as she knew mine. Dodging the issue would be a bold move, but not an option. However, nothing in the rules said I couldn't trip it into a hip throw. "The issue is your premise. Does changing the name of whatever sky god you once held sacred really change anything? Most of these deities had so many characteristics in common, it's more accurate to say it was meet the new god pretty much the same as the old god." I was rather proud of myself for that bit of footwork. Unfortunately, my judo was no match for her kung fu. Rubbish. As the new group of invaders became dominant, the nature of the people themselves changed. They either became displaced completely or integrated into the new population and were no longer what they had been. It wasn't just a change of name that came with the new god, it was a change of identity. Now answer the question. I still wasn't ready to give up. You and I both know that a god is an idea, a metaphor. It makes no sense to speak of a god outliving its usefulness. What happens to any idea when no one believes it? "We still have the names and what they represented," she said, tapping her book again. "So how can gods be truly forgotten?" I took a breath. "Then you've answered your own question." She sighed. "I usually do. Besides, it's not as if we've ever run out of gods." "True," I said, returning to my laptop. "And even if we did, we can always make more."